Welcome to Ceramics with Mr. Bosmo. Today we're sculpting a bust and mapping out facial proportions. So here I have the major forms of my bust bulked out. Things are a little rough, a little uneven, so I'm using a metal rib with thick teeth on it and just scraping over all the surface to even things out. So I'm knocking off high spots and kind of filling in some low spots as I go. Notice that periodically I stop and wipe the clay off of my rib. It's going to keep on collecting on there. And I'm working my way over the entire sculpture, just evening out the surface. I'm now coming back with a hard plastic rib and pressing against the bottom of the sculpture and pulling upward, trying to eliminate any clay that's spilling out onto my bat. I'm also knocking down the big ridges that I just made with that notched metal rib. And I'll just work my way over the whole sculpture. Again, once in a while I'm stopping to wipe the excess clay off of my rib. Not going for a perfectly glass smooth surface here, but just evened out. Then I'm looking at my proportions. So I'm going to start with where those eyes fall, and that's 1/2 the height of the cranium of the whole skull. Now in hindsight, I feel like I made that a little high, but so be it. And then I'm going to draw a line across for where those eyes should be and make a vertical line that's going to split the face into 2 halves. Next, I notice that the nose, it's about halfway down that bottom half of the face. So again, here I'm looking for that halfway point between the eyes and the chin and making a line where that bottom of the nose should be. The mouth then is roughly halfway between the nose and the chin. So I'm making a line there for the middle of my mouth as well. I'm also starting to draw in that line that goes from the edge of the mouth up to where the inside of the eyes would be. It goes down the outside of the nostrils to the outside of the mouth to the inside of the eye. I'm also looking at how the bottom of the nose lines up with the ear, as does the eyebrow, and how far back that should be on the head. So above my eye line, I'll have my eyebrow line, and that kind of connects down into the nose and goes back to the top of the ear, and the bottom of the nose goes back to the bottom of the ear. I'm adding some clay here because my jaw was kind of missing. So here I'm defining that jaw a little bit, and the jaw will run straight up into the ear. I've made a line over the top of the head to the other side so that my ears will be in line with one another. Also needed to add some clay to the jaw on this side. Now I'm drawing kind of the shape of my nostrils, the sides of the nose, the lip shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and press in or carve away to make the cavities where the eyes will end up. And you'll notice I carved that out all the way up to kind of my eyebrow line. The next step would be to just start to like bulk in the features of the face. So I've used sort of a cone shape and blended that on to make my nose, going from that eyebrow ridge down to the nose line. I'm adding small pieces of clay to bring out the eyebrow and cheekbones. I'm just adding a little bit at a time and blending it in. You'll notice that you can see the side of my nose is like a wall almost. I can fit a whole finger on the side of that nose. And same underneath the eyebrow ridge. I'm going to be able to fit a finger underneath of that. It sticks out. Little clay for the other cheekbone. And at this point, I'm not too worried about things being perfect or really looking exactly like my photo. I'm just trying for some rough proportions, getting a bit of clay on there. Here I've added some balls of clay to make the nostrils and started to blend those in. We'll look at some videos in the future that will give us a lot more detail about how to sculpt the nose, the mouth, and so on. I'm really, again, just roughing it in. I'm going to add a coil that's kind of flattened to make my upper lip. Blending those top sides of that in and then pressing up on the bottom sides to make that lip. It's kind of like an overhang, like a shelf almost. And then a coil for the lower lip, which I blend down and kind of tuck under the top lip. Now, looking at my reference photo, I noticed that I am missing chin, right? Look at how that protrudes. And on my bust, the chin just drops straight back. So I needed to add quite a bit of clay there to get that chin to thrust forward. And as you work, it's very important to continue to reference your photos or the proportion diagrams that I provided for you. Don't just try to wing it. There'll be time for that later on. In these first steps, it's important to try to lay out those proportions properly. And here I'm just adding some small pieces of clay to further shape the nose. Kind of define the nostrils a little bit more. And there's our basic proportions applied to your bust.